Beautiful. Lift up a smudge. Good. So I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy Monday afternoon or morning, wherever you are in the world. I know that we've got a couple of international people joining on the recording. We had almost 100 people sign up. I think 94 was the last I looked at until I couldn't pass on the Zoom link anymore because obviously I have to run the actual presentation. So for those of you that are catching the recording, hello. And those of you that are here live, really appreciate it. It's nice to know that there's some people on the other end. If any questions pop up, put them in the chat. I'm gonna answer what I can. And then basically what we're doing, those are on the recording, know this, that I'm gonna record the information piece. And then I'm gonna hit pause, do a little workshop for those that could join live. I'll help anybody who have any questions with their brushing plank. And then I'm going to put the recording back on and talk about the practice plan, which is this is all leading towards. But kind of where I'm coming from is that I noticed, so I found a post the other day on Facebook, you know how like it gives you your memories from 2011. And I made a comment on Facebook because that's what you do. Those who don't know anything about Facebook, back in the day, it would say, "What are you thinking?" And I'd be like, "My one arm is bigger than my other." And then it was a couple of comments about sweeping rocks, etc. And then my mom commented and she was like, "Maybe you should learn how to sweep on both sides." And so I did. And this is one of the things that I did to help me figure out how to sweep on both sides. So I call the brushing positions, I believe there are 4, and I'm talking general brushing positions. A general sweeping. At this point, I'm not talking directional brushing. I'm not talking distance brushing. I'm not talking about those techniques. I'm just talking your typical brushing position. And this even starts with, if you're new to curling, you're likely going to have been taught the open brushing position. We'll go over that in a minute. Safer, you can see where you're going. It has a lot of positives to it. A lot of more of the elite curlers try to switch to closed because in 2011, they did a study and that closed was better sweeping, was better numbers. So I put air quotes and I'll describe why as we get going. But essentially one of the things that I started with way back in 2011 was getting in the brushing position in my house, on my carpet. So finding a way to feel comfortable in it. And I always kind of, when I see things, I start to relate things. And I notice that you're in a plank position, you're in a bit of a side plank. If you were an open, you're doing kind of more shuffling. And when you're enclosed, you're doing this like lateral lunge of sorts. So I started looking for these trends and it helped me create empowered performance. So I didn't introduce myself. If we haven't met, my name is Stephanie Thompson. I'm a registered kinesiologist. I also have my coaching. Can't remember which coaching I have. Competition coaching of sorts. Yep, can't remember. If you're like, I need to know, send me an email and I'll find the list. But I've worked at a whack ton of camps across Ontario and Canada, and I've worked with I can't even count the number of curlers across Ontario, Canada, and the world. So this is really exciting. We're heading into the 10th off season that I've ever trained people with, and I know I don't look very old, so it's really exciting. So today the goals, in my opinion, are to help you master the brushing position. So utilize the off ice opportunity to get into the brushing position every night when you're watching TV, during a workout, kind of incorporating it into what you're doing regularly. Okay. And we can take that position once we understand where our hands need to be, understand what it feels like to push our body over the brush. It makes it easier to apply it on the ice. This is my opinion. A lot of my research is anecdotal, where I've worked with people, I've experimented with my own body, and this is where we're at. There's some wonderful people out there doing some research on brushing, and I've been pulling from their stuff. But honestly, most of this is trial and error on my part, and the wonderful athletes that have let me play with their bodies and try to put them in good positions. So this presentation, I want to be clear, is going to be about the positions. And I mentioned there are 4. There's an open and a closed on the right side and on the left side. So you can be an open with one arm down. Okay, one arm down. and then closed on the other, and then open on the other side, and then closed on the other. So there's 4 positions that you can practice at home using your brush. And again, you're gonna notice for the old schoolers, I've got an 8 under. I use this at home because I can sleep on my hardwood. I'm also not sponsored by anybody. So I don't, aside from hardline with my curling team. So I'm like, I don't want to, give too much free stuff out there. So pick the broom that works for you. So today's goals, learn the differences between the open and closed in general. And you're going to learn what I think is optimal body position so that you can be not only effective on the brush, apply force, move with speed, but efficient. And efficient means that you could do this over and over again. It means you don't have to put icy hot on your shoulder and tape up your elbow and wear a compression sleeve. Efficient means that you could do it over and over and over again during a game, during a tournament, during a year. And there's nothing wrong if you find that you're not efficient, but I think becoming more efficient makes you more effective, which is why I've used the smart broom. And what I've noticed is when you make efficient adjustments, it makes you more effective, which is kind of cool. And we can eyeball efficient. You can see when a limb is going side to side and your body is going this direction. Okay, so that's part 1. Part 2, if I get a volunteer that's okay with me putting their body out there on the recording, I'd love to coach someone so that those catching the recording get to see what that looks like. If not, we're gonna hit pause. We're gonna go through hopefully a couple volunteers are willing to try it on camera and let me give them some movement adjustments. And then we'll talk about the brushing plank. So, so I believe that using the brushing plank is the first place that you need to go. It's like the foundation. It's like your setup. Okay, in the delivery, we set up in the hack. Okay, and if our setup is wrong, the rest of our slide is gonna be wrong. So if the way that I grip my brush before I start is wrong or suboptimal, that's gonna translate when I go down the ice. It gives us a chance to practice newer awkward positions in a safe environment. A lot of people are a little bit afraid to put their body weight over the brush. And you can do that here, knowing that you can set up pillows on your floor, okay, and you've got a nice strong grip. There's no ice to contend with. Hey, it also helps to identify gaps in strength and control. So if I get you in the brushing plank and you can't hold it, and you were wondering before why you can't become a better brusher, why you can't apply those things on the ice, practicing will make you stronger, but taking that into the gym is going to give you an opportunity to fast track how fit you get and how comfortable you get on that brush. Okay, and then this also serves as an off-ice practice tool. So this is the perfect time. We're heading into the holiday season. My club, I know, doesn't have ice for about 2 weeks, so I'll be doing dry land stuff at home. So we're going to talk about owning the position. If you've done my Better Brushing program, if you've done the Better Brushing webinar, you've seen some of these things before. We're just going to dive in a little bit deeper. We're going to talk about owning the position, open versus closed, how I interpret the cues of back flat and feet out from under your hips so that you can actually be more effective. Hey, we're going to workshop the brushing plank and go through the Better Brushing plan. So for me, and you're going to hopefully notice this in your own life, owning a position means that I can hold it. So I can get into a brushing. I'm going to do, let me see. Hey, owning the position in the lower body means I can get into a squat. I can hold it. So I can actually access this range of motion. When I go to squat, I don't get stuck here. I can go all the way down. Okay, just letting last second people in here. Okay, so hey, so I can get all the way down. I can, or as far as I'm looking for, and I can hold it. I can access the position and I can hold it. Okay, then not only can I hold it, but I can go in and out of the squat. I can do it multiple times. Some people with back pain or knee pain can get into a position, but they can't go up and down a bunch. Okay, something's going to start to get angry. Okay, so they don't own the position yet. They can hold it, but they can't own it. So it's not repeatable. This is also where I put an asterisk and say, I know I lost my head on there. This is also where I put an asterisk and say, if you can hold it and repeat it. So a lot of athletes get in a brushing position, okay, and they're doing something like this while they're sweeping. And you might be giggling. this is a lot. Everybody likes to use their elbow and forgetting that they've got big chest and back muscles to generate that power. Okay, they can do it, but their elbow hurts halfway through the season. Okay, to me, that's not repeatable. And that's an opportunity for us to make an adjustment. Okay, so they can hold it, they can get there, they can go in and out, and then they can be powerful. Okay, so some people, and I know for myself, I had knee pain for a long time. I couldn't get into a split squat. Then I could repeat it, but I couldn't lift very heavy, and I couldn't explode out of it. So the same applies for brushing. Can we hold the position? Can we repeat it, okay, without having any pain? And can we be fast and powerful? And this is exactly the template that I'm using with the practice plan, the Better Brushing practice plan. It's 3 phases, and each phase, we're practicing something different. So the first phase, holding the position, lot to do with the brushing plan. Then we're focusing on moving the arms and the legs in a repeatable fashion. We're focusing on doing that really, really well. And then the third phase is when do we say, how do we become more fast and powerful? And the asterisk here is just with no pain. Okay, if you've got something holding you back in your shoulder, in your low back, in your hip, that's an opportunity because there's a energy leak somewhere, whether it caused the injury or you have an injury and so you're kind of hiding from it. You're trying to brace and stabilize and kind of make sure that you're not setting yourself up for any more pain, wasting space in the brain. Okay, so I just like to point that out as well, that again, you can be in a great position, effective position, you're coming with great smart broom numbers, your team loves it, but you can't repeat it for a long period of time because you've got some sort of injury, okay? Or you're afraid of getting injured. So owning the position, the brushing plank is all about holding the position. And we're gonna use that as a spot to look for little adjustments here and there if you've got some pain. I've written down the list of the body parts that people are having ailments of, because thank you for filling that out. That's fantastic. And I think we can actually use that brushing plank to say, okay, the shoulder hurts here when we're holding it, so it's obviously going to hurt when we move. Can we make an adjustment somewhere? Okay, I want you to think about what is the difference between these 2 pictures. And just in case you're new to curling, I know there's a few new to curling here. Open versus closed positioning, okay? Open, so if the rock is in front of my brush head, open is when so if I was walking down the ice, okay, if I was walking down the ice towards the camera, this is my outside arm. So open is when the outside arm is on top and the inside arm is on the bottom. You'll notice that I can see the logo on my shirt. It's easy for me to look up. Okay, I'm a little bit higher up on the brush. I did this a while ago, so realistically, I might even be a little bit higher on the brush than this. And that allows me to walk down the ice and sweep. It's a safe position, and you can see where you're going. A lot of new curlers start with this. And I think a lot of professional curlers, elite curlers, should stay with this. And I'll go through some of the faults that I see here and there. Okay, because in my opinion, the best brushing position is the one that you can do powerfully and with confidence. Okay, so closed is the opposite. My outside hand is down, which closes my chest off to the target. Okay, and there's going to be a couple of differences in terms of body position. And I'm going to go through those. So typically closed is a little bit harder. There's a little bit more trust that has to come and strength that has to come with holding ourselves up in this position. Okay, and that's why a lot of people kind of love to start with open. And I'll walk through some of the mistakes I see. In a nutshell, open, in my opinion, from what I've seen the best curlers do, from my own little smart broom brushing numbers, has your hands a little bit higher. So my feedback to myself here would that this hand would be up where the arrow is there, maybe one hand higher, which brings my shoulders higher than my hips. Okay, and I'm going to go through this when we actually do the brushing plank. So open, if your outside hand is on top, your shoulders should be higher than your hips. Your feet will then naturally, your feet, your hips, and your chest are naturally aiming at the target. So your skip's broom, or wherever your skip is tapping on the ice where you need to go. Okay, in closed, The shoulders are the same height, and I say ish because some can still do a really good job with their hands a little higher. Okay, and their feet and their hips and their sternum, their breastbone, are aimed at the, I'm going to call it the brush or the rock, depending on what angle they're kind of propelling themselves down the ice. So there's actually a difference in where your feet, your hips, and your sternum aim in open and close. And this is where a lot of people, I think, make a big mistake. They're like, I want this arm down for whatever reason, but then their feet and their hips aim at the target because they can't laterally lunge or don't have the strength to hold themselves up. So in a nutshell, open, outside hand is down, shoulders end up higher than your hips, feet, hips, and sternum aimed at target. Okay, I can see where I'm going has lots of benefits. It's a little bit safer. Okay, less of like a lateral lean, less of my, I'm still holding my upper body up, and we're gonna go through this with the brushing plank. It can still be, in my opinion, a very effective position. Close, shoulders, same height-ish as your hips, feet, hips, sternum aimed at the rock and the brush, okay, depending. Okay, now this, it's been brought to my attention that some places are coaching their athletes to always be behind the rock. And in my opinion, you still have an open and a close based off of which is your trail foot kicking you. There is always a slight twist of the spine. So even if you are directly behind the rock, there is still open and closed. And I'm not going to talk more about distance or direction, but I do still think the tenets are the same. Hey, so here's a couple more photos. This is closed. Okay, so I'm going in this, don't look at the arrow, it's going the other way. I'm going this way, and I'm going, oops, hold on, I'm coming towards the camera with this. This is open. Hey, so again, I could move my hands up slightly if I wanted to. It makes it easier for me to lift my head. If you have neck pain while you're sleeping, because you don't like doing this, we'll raise your hands up on the broom, and now your chest is better aimed. So this is a really good example. You can see how my chest is better aimed. Okay, and we're gonna get into how to use the brushing plank, but you can see here that it's not just a plank holding my body weight across. I'm using my legs to push myself over the brush. Okay, close, we're coming at the camera. We're going this direction, and we're going down the ice. Okay, so you can see that my shoulders and hips are a little bit closer to in line. Okay, you can see that my hips and my feet are aiming at the rock and the brush. And over here, you can see that my hips and my feet are aiming more towards the target. Okay, you can guess what year I filmed this in based on the mask. The answer is 2021. So you might be wondering, because you were told that you need to have a flat back. And I want to point out, that is still a flat back. That's a flat back. That's a flat back. That's a flat back. A flat back had to do more with stacking the ribs over the pelvis. Where's my skeleton? Okay, so it's about creating a stack between the thoracic diaphragm, we're diving in deep on nerd stuff here, and the pelvic diaphragm, the pelvic floor. So we didn't want big, we don't want to be in a sweeping position with a Kim Kardashian booty and lifting my chest up like this. And we don't want it with a rounded spine like this. This is not flat. This is not flat, okay? Flat back is when I'm in more of a plank position with my trunk. I feel my abs working, okay? And I can have that, I'm gonna go that way in open, so I can have my shoulders higher than my hips and still have a flat back. And I'm gonna go that way still, and I can have my hips and shoulders similar height with a flat back here, okay? So flat back, in my opinion, in that 2011 Western University study, it wasn't necessarily parallel to the ice. Okay? And you can start to see, and you know what, after this is all done, I'll make sure that I take, I turn off the the PowerPoint, you can see me a little bit better. I know it gets really small, but if you're in open, okay, but you decided to make your back parallel to the ice, it's kind of hard, okay, in open to kind of get the body weight over the brush. We're going to workshop that in a second. Okay. Feet out from under the hip was another one. So most people are obsessed. They're obsessed. I'm going to use the word obsessed, even though it bugs me, triggers me. They're obsessed. They're like, I need my feet out. Their legs are wide. Their feet are out here. They're kicking up in the air. But that's not actually getting to what they need to accomplish, which is throwing their body weight over the brush. Hey, Tiranzoni's team does a fantastic job. That second of theirs is throwing her body weight over. Her feet get out, but she's using it to push her body over. And then there's also this argument about force versus speed. So flat back, in my opinion, you can use the term flat back if as long as you, if this aligns with your thoughts and goals, etc. Say flat back as long as you mean a trunk that's stacked. Okay, you can say feet out from under your hips. We want to use that to push our body over the brush. Okay, now the argument of force versus speed, there is a difference. Some teams are, you're going to notice when you watch, when they're going for distance, it's a different stroke rate than if they're going for direction, trying to make curl or keep it straight. But I believe that we're always applying a force, a downward force, regardless if we are in the push stroke or the pull stroke. We are always applying a downward force, because if we're not applying a downward force, our weight's on our feet. Okay, and I'm gonna walk you through when I turn this off. Okay, so that's in a nutshell. I'm gonna stop sharing just for a moment, and I'm gonna go through. Did I ever spotlight myself? Okay, good. Okay, I'm gonna go through open versus closed here, and then my counter. Okay. Okay. So I also kind of think that we've got a lane for the rock and a lane for the feet. Again, normal general brushing. There are times you will spin behind the rock for sure, but this is normal general. Okay. What I love about this broom is it gives you that opportunity to split into thirds. Okay. So what I'm going to do is go a little bit higher on my broom in open. So my inside hand is down. Okay. And I'm going to use my feet. This is a key piece for the brushing plank to push my body over the brush. Okay. Now this looks different. So some people will sweep and they're sweeping like this. Look at my beautiful plank. Okay. I want you to use your feet to push your body over the brush. I'm in open, I'm going in that direction. Okay, so when I actually get to sweeping, I'm actually using my feet to push the brush away and then using my arms to pull it back underneath me. Okay, so I'm getting that opportunity to use my feet to push the body over. Okay, so that's an open. Going towards you, so here's open. Okay, feet, hips, sternum, aimed at my target. Okay, close. When I take this hand, see how it naturally turns, right? If I hold it like this, it's easy for me to lean. And if I hold it like this, for me to sweep, I have to twist my spine. So here's a big mistake a lot of people make. I want my left arm down so bad, but I can't. My feet and my hips are aimed at the target, not the brush and the rock. Okay, so in my opinion, if someone is trying so hard to be closed, but they can't get their feet to aim this direction, at the rock and the broom, and then they're doing this, very hard to lean. So you're missing out on being effective. So in my opinion, that person should switch their arms. It's your choice. Do I need to figure out how to sweep like this? Okay, or do I figure out how to sweep like this? Because that's how my feet want to turn. Okay, closed. If my feet and my hips and my sternum want to aim at the rock and the broom, okay, I don't want to be here, because then I'm doing some weird little shuffly thing in front. I want to be behind so that I can push my body in the direction of travel. I want to use this leg. Again, you can watch Tiranzoni's second. uses that slider foot to push her body over the brush. Okay, so when you're doing your brushing plank, you're practicing using your legs to push yourself over. See how it's kind of like a lateral lunge? If I go this way, okay? Okay, this foot is pushing me over. Okay, the brushing practice plan is going to talk all about footwork, but you can already figure out this is going to be more like this. Okay, this is going to be more of a lateral lunge. Okay, to get yourself sideways. Okay, so that's open versus closed. A couple things that we can think about now when it comes to injuries. I'm still recording, right? Good. Okay, we've got a lot of elbows, wrist pain. Someone's had trigger finger. I'll start with that one. So if you were right now to grab your own finger like a baby and give it a squeeze, okay, I'm much stronger with everything than with just 3. Okay, so some people, I'm not certain why, I do it sometimes, so I think it's just an extra stabilizing piece. Okay, but we're actually missing out on maximizing our grip strength. And our grip strength is related to our core strength. So do your best to try to get the entire hand around the brush, and you can practice this at home. Okay, so if someone has trigger finger, my first thing is, let's wrap that finger around. Okay, the next, so let's say we're doing open, we kind of want to make sure we're holding pressure through and able to press down with that bottom arm. So I'm holding on, we don't want to be here because that's a lot of pressure through that finger to hold on. It ends up doing something like this. Okay, it's not moving, but it's kind of like when you toe clench and you're not using your glutes. So we want to get a good grip. Hand is more on top. The top hand, actually I didn't put this in my notes, you'll notice. So I've noticed, because I'm a smaller person, I stare at the smallest sweepers who are really powerful. Not stare, creepily stare and admire, because I'm like, how did you become so good? So Caitlin Law's entire team, 5 foot nothing, okay, they all have glued their forearm to their broom. Now when they pull, it's an extension of their arm. There's no inefficiency of sending it backwards and an extra bend at the wrist. So if you have pain in anything, I recommend trying to connect those two. You'll also notice that means you can't put the broom up in your shoulder like this. You have to get it down near kind of where a bra strap might be. Okay, so a little bit lower than the bra strap, but we definitely don't want this. Because when I go to sweep, look at what's happening at my shoulder. It's tilting forward and it's tilting back, tilting forward and it's tilting back, versus getting my back muscles around my shoulder blades on to pull. So in your brushing plank, you want to be thinking about, if I was going to pull right now, how might it look? And the neat thing with the brushing plank is I want you to think about it not in your push stroke, sorry, not in your pull stroke, but in your push stroke. Okay, so I said that we're always applying a downward pressure, because in my opinion, not only am I putting my feet to push my body over, but I'm also pushing my body up. And one of Newton's laws says that if for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. If I push my body up while my feet are pushing me over, that's applying a lot of pressure down. So this is how you can almost slide yourself down the ice, okay, by just holding your body up. So if you watch the Scottish guys, how they're always doing a really heavy clean, they're not like this. They're not heavy cleaning like this. They're pressing down into the ice. They're pushing their body up. They're applying a downward force. So that's where I think we can get the most out of a brushing plank. I'm in open, push my body away, push my body over, and hold it. Okay, I'm in closed. The best way for me to go here. Push my body over, push my body up. Okay. You'll also notice that when I push my body over, it gets my feet out from under my hips. This motion pushes my feet out from under my hips versus this. And going down the ice like this. You want to use the feet to push yourselves over. Okay, so trigger finger trying to grasp with our whole hand. Okay. A couple things, couple tips if you'd like. Okay, if I hold the brush out in front of me and take the hands near the end and turn, hold on. Yeah, and turn it away, and the hands near the head and turn it towards me, I'm ripping the broom apart. So if you've ever had that issue where you're like a stripper, you're sliding down the broom pole, okay, because all you're thinking about is holding it. If you try to rip it apart with your hands or with your back muscles, I posted this on Instagram the other day, it stops you. So it gives you much more stability and much more strength through the grip. You can try that in the brushing plank here as well. Someone said that they had hip flexor pain. Without me seeing you, knowing exactly why you've got hip flexor pain, I wouldn't be certain. So let me go to an extreme here. If you're an open or close and you're like, I see this at my club all the time, they're like, I need to get closer to the rock. They bend their knees more and they're like, oh, I'm sweeping. I'm all the way down here, and they're moving down like this, but they're all just crunched up. That's going to really piss your hip flexors off versus this and extending at the hip. Okay, so doing more like this position. The other reason your hip flexor might get pissed is if you're not getting a oblique side bend. So in general, I have people think about the side that is the hand is down. We're doing a small side bend to that side, okay, which is going to bring my obliques into it and not my hip flexor. Whereas if I have kind of Kim Kardashian booty and my abs are on length and not on, I might start to use my hip flexors to bring it under. Those are two things I can think of off the top of my head there. Shoulders, often, I think I see pain come because the broom's up here. That'll piss something off, okay? Even here, we sag down, we're not pushing away. Okay, we also want to think about if you throw a ball, you're throwing from the big muscles, big joints to the little joints, okay? And a lot of people I feel like are just using the elbow. Can't do it on that side, okay? They're just using, the elbow is bent, is straight, I can't even do it, straightening and bending it. Okay, so trying to get them from the big muscles in the back. Yeah, okay. So, brushing plank, I want you to give it a try. In a second, I'm gonna take it off the recording. So if anybody's willing to hop on and I'll help you off the recording, we're just gonna get into the position and I encourage you, I'll walk through if you wanna get into it and I'll just yell out some cues for you. I can help you out if you have any questions about the brushing plank specifically. Does anybody wanna be a demo that gets recorded? Anybody brave enough to that? Give it a second just in case. It's okay if nobody wants to be. Okay, I'm going to pause the recording. Oh, was that a thing? Was that a thing? Were you going to say yes? No? Okay. Zoom recording. Perfect. Okay, so thank you to those that went went on camera so that I could kind of coach you through it. That was really exciting. I'm eager to hear how it feels to get yourself back on the ice. So I used this position for this photo because I thought it was really cool. Both my sweeping partner and I, one of us is in closed and one of us is in open. You can see how my shoulders are higher than my hips. Okay, now a secret tip of mine is because I can sweep in all four positions, when I'm the outside sweeper, I'm very typically in open, so I can see where I'm going and communicate really well. Okay, so that's the benefit of being able to switch hands. I think that it's kind of like being a switch hitter in baseball. Not everyone can do it because I recognize you only have so much time to practice and apply. I'm just very lucky and this is my job, so I get to spend time on the ice and practicing. Okay, but I do think it's beneficial to use the brushing plank in all four positions. If you're not comfortable, if you don't have the time on the ice to dedicate, I think it's beneficial because if you're really good in one position, let's say you're really good and closed with your left hand down and absolutely horrible with your right hand down. While you're learning how to be efficient and effective with the right hand down, it might help you make the left even better. Okay, so it's just I know that that's a theory for learning things. When people when they're struggling with something on their right, they'll teach them how to do it on the left, because then they're going to go, oh, right, I forgot about that follow through with the fingers or whatever. So that's just what I'm thinking. So with the better brushing practice plan, it's an extension of this. We start with owning the position, which is the brushing plank. You start right away doing stuff on the ice. So it's not just about being off the ice, but it's all about owning the position in the first phase. So the goals of the practice plan are to solve the things that people were struggling with aside from just owning the position. So some people were like, I need to know which position's right for my body. I don't know where my feet should aim. I don't know how to hold the broom. Like a muscle hurts. I'm shrugging somewhere. I'm not using my core. All those things we can use with the brushing plank. With the practice plan, it's about what is the right position for your body, of course. What does the footwork look like? Which has been a very interesting experience for me to try to slow it down and really try to organize how I might teach someone how to do it in a video form, okay? Because not many people like to be on video and let me video their stuff. So that's been really interesting to kind of play with. There's a difference between open and closed just based on the fact that you're in a different position, right? You naturally are going to be doing more of a lateral lunge in closed versus more of a shuffle step in the open position, okay? Like you can see that my teammate here, that back trail foot has to push them laterally, whereas both my feet are pushing me over the brush. How do you prepare a proper on-ice brushing practice? So I've organized 6 brushing practices for you to start to get some inspiration from. And I know a lot of people, they already struggle with drawing practices for draws, but really struggle to be like, how do I practice my sweeping without just sweeping? So I put a couple exercises for you. There is some strength work involved. Now, you don't have to do that part. You could push it to the side. I do recommend you do the warm-up stuff that I've put in, because I think those are sneaking some exercises in, working on muscles like your serratus. You've got not just your core, but your not just abductus abdominis, but your obliques. We work a little bit on the hips. Because notice how I was kind of extending at the hip. We have to have strong hip extensors as well. And then we also touch on how to be a smart sweeper, which has to do with judging, which has to do with remembering time, communicating during a shot, before a shot, after a shot. It has to do with how to actually memorize the different paths. So I've tried to put all those pieces into a practice plan for you so that, let me lay it out for you. You've got 3 phases. We've got owning the position, repeating the position, and then really working on being powerful. Then we've got, in each phase, we've got 2 strength workouts. So again, you don't have to do those pieces. 2 practices, 1 practice specifically for technique, and 1 practice that's applying the technique and smart sweeping. So some smart sweeping elements. Okay, and then there's an education piece. So I'm talking about the running band. I do touch on directional brushing, judging rocks. Okay, so knowing when to sweep, how to communicate that sweep, which is a little bit harder in an Excel doc, but I think I did an okay job at it, at least to give you that information, and then you can apply it to those practices. So 3 phases, 2 strengths, 2 practices, each gives you 6 of each, plus a bunch of education. So it's going to be available December 4th. I was going to do it available now, but I also wanted to make sure that if any questions came up or looking at everyone's things that they input, what do you care about? Okay, a lot of people cared the most in season about judging, smart sweeping, all those kind of things, directional brushing. We cared more about that than the strength, which makes sense. We'll focus on that in the off season. But I wanted to be able to make those adjustments for you. So 6 on-ice practice plans, 6 small off-ice exercises, and then a workout, and they're small. They're not too long. They're about 5 exercises, and then a bunch of education for you as well. Now, if you're like, ooh, it's kind of neat to get that coaching, I don't know if I'm in the right spot, I can watch it, I don't know how to apply it. What I've done, oh, and I didn't add this in here, but it's, I'll share it in the chat. So if you're interested in the brushing practice plan and you like the idea of a video analysis or coaching session, if you purchase the practice plan, you can get up to 3 video analysis sessions for $10 off each of those. Okay, so that way, as you're going through the practice plan, you can hop on a call. We can either do one of 3 things. One, you send me a video, I analyze it, and I send you a video back. Not as popular, not my favorite, because it's like making sure you're doing the right thing. Number 2, you can send me a video ahead of time. Then we can set up a time, and I'm in my workout space, and you're in your home, and we're walking through the video and giving you some things to work on. We're looking at the practice plan, maybe modifying it a bit. Okay. And then the third option, which is kind of my favorite, but not always optimal, is you send a video ahead of time. We hop on a video call where I'm at home and you're at the curling club. So you get a chance to actually try these things on the ice. And of course, with the brushing practice plan, it's more than just the brushing plank. We can actually figure out what is the right footwork for you. What are you struggling with? How do we become more powerful? How do we move that brush faster? All those kinds of things. Okay, so that price is Canadian. If this is of interest to you and you're not in Canada, for everybody, you're sending me, you're filling out the document, but we use what's called QuickBooks, which means that you can pay in whatever currency you've got through there, and it does the exchange. You don't have to worry about any of that. I like to underline, please don't send me PayPal. I'm all set up on QuickBooks. Obviously, if you do it, it's not the end of the world, but I'll do it through QuickBooks if that's okay. Any questions? Any questions about the practice plan or brushing plank? How do I sign up? Perfect. Okay, I'm going to send it to, we're going to stop the share here. Hold it. Stay over there. Hold on, where is it? I don't know where oh, for crying out loud. Give me 1 second. I'm going to send it to you. The email that I send with the recording is going to have all the links that you need, but if you're like, I need it now, I'll obviously send it to you this instant. Any questions about that? Anything that you wish would have been in it that I haven't mentioned? You can type it in the chat if you don't want to say it out loud. Any thoughts? Any of my current EP VIP athletes, you're going to get access to the programming, and you already get the access to that. So don't purchase it separate. So you're going to get it. But if you're not a current EP VIP, this is the most affordable way to access. All right, no questions. I want to thank everyone. I'm not going to sign off right away. So if anyone has questions aside from that, I just want to say thank you. If you're listening, for joining, for following along. Make sure you check out my podcast, the Empowered Performance for Curlers podcast. There's a newsletter. Most of you signed up for it anyways, which is fantastic. And then follow me on Instagram. If you've got any questions or not sure what program's right for you, make sure you send me an email. I can help